about way back in the Colosseum. That was entertainment, watching people fight each other, like the games that they made in ancient Greece, like all of these crazy things way back from the start of humanity where we have like leaned into like the Shakespearean age. What can we create to entertain people, to express, to play games, to play roles? Like it's quite an amazing field. But I just think that it's gotten very convoluted in terms of the reason why people want to be part of it, why we idolize people, how we organize them in society, and the distribution of wealth is really upsetting to me.
Art had so much more meaning. Entertainment had so much more poignant societal cultural critiques and messages woven into them than they do now. Entertainment has become so dumb. How do we get back to having the art speak, the entertainment doing its job of entertaining, making gestures at society without it just being this way to distract people from their lives?
For those who are deep enough to get it,
but profound enough to not care.
You're listening to Consciously Unconscious. Oh my. Amanda told me that I look like a scarecrow today, like a scary scarecrow.
Fix your mic.
I am.
Okay.
That's literally what I'm doing.
Okay.
Fix your mic.
No, I just listen back sometimes and I'm like, wow, we are so loud when we fix our mics in the beginning of the episode. But I did tell Jessa that she looks like a scarecrow because my kids are obsessed with the Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, it is kind of giving Nightmare.
You're giving Locke.
Who's that?
Lock, Shock, and...
Lock, Shock, and Roll.
Lock, Shock, and Roll.
Pop,
I
lock,
think
and
it's
drop
Lock,
it.
Shock, and Barrel.
Isn't that the name of a restaurant?
It's probably inspired by Nightmare Before Christmas.
Cracker Barrel.
Tim Burton. Cracker Barrel. Did you ever go to a Cracker Barrel growing up?
No.
Oh my God, they were everywhere in
Isn't
Florida.
that where you can throw peanuts on the ground?
No, that is...
Five Guys.
Is it Five Guys?
Outback Steakhouse.
I think it might be the Outback.
The Outback. That was like a chain of restaurants like Chili's, Outback Steakhouse, Cracker Barrel. What else? Applebee's, where it was like you...
Applebee's we would go to once a week.
Which is so funny because it feels like you know the type of family that would go and your family doesn't really fit that mold.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we would go with families that fit that mold.
It's like very classic middle class.
Yeah.
Like after soccer practice.
Here's the thing. We did speak about the fact that I was raised with a very American cuisine.
Yeah. Like,
so the cuisine fits the mold. My parents are not foodies.
Just a little chicky finger.
No, my mom will have the olive in her martini and my dad will have a sandwich with chips. And when he's done with his sandwich, he cannot eat his chips. He can only eat his chips when he's eating his sandwich.
Like he puts them on the sandwich.
He puts them on the side. And then if he finishes the sandwich before he finishes his chips, he will not continue eating the chips.
Why?
I think he has OCD.
Okay. Got it. We'll unpack that with him.
I am actually thinking that maybe I have a little bit of OCD.
Go on.
It's something that has been more prevalent to me in the last couple weeks.
But is it only about specific fixation items or is it everywhere in your life?
I don't know if this is, I don't really know much about the OCD, okay? But I do feel that there are certain things like obsessing over the house being not clean, but just like being, wanting to control it. Yeah, wanting to control the house. And then the other thing is intrusive thoughts. Aren't intrusive thoughts OCD thing?
That's probably schizophrenia.
Oh, well.
Just kidding. I don't know. I mean, OCD comes hand in hand with schizophrenia sometimes.
Great.
Or not schizophrenia.
You know what's really scary about schizophrenia is that it can develop later in like your 20s.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's fully developing for me right now. It's fully coming on.
Wait, yeah, you've talked about this. Why do you think you have schizophrenia?
Well, I don't actually think I have schizophrenia until I do.
Yeah.
But I just have very dissociative thoughts at times where I'm
not the one thinking them?
Kind of. If you've taken enough mushrooms before, I think it's actually a superpower. Oh my gosh. We need to talk about the telepathy tapes. Have you heard of this?
No?
Okay. It's a podcast that I'm just getting into that was referred to me by a friend about how
You know where I saw it? You know where I saw this podcast?
where?
New and Noteworthy.
Amazing. And we'll be there next week or the week after. So look for us. And if we're not, send an email to Apple and tell them where's Consciously Unconscious.
Yes.
Telepathy Tapes is about autistic children who basically are clairvoyant, essentially. And they're interviewing all these autistic children, I think, and they are talking about this place that they go, this different level of consciousness, essentially, where they go and communicate with other nonverbal autistic children. No, it's insane. I'm not too far into it, so I can't give.
See, this is why they want to
much.
stigmatize autism.
Well, because autism is a power.
Straight up.
Yeah, that's why
Straight up. They don't want us to know that.
they don't want us to know a lot of things.
Oh, were you just pointing at yourself saying you're autistic?
I could be
You kind of fit the bill.
schizophrenic, autistic, mesophonic, and
A scarecrow.
a scarecrow. Yeah, I'm in some overalls.
Actually, with the dance move, the way that you were walking earlier, yeah, I would say schizo.
You know where that comes from? Like all those videos that's trending. That's like how to get someone to not approach you in public is just walk like this, and it's like it's like this crazy.
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh my god, it's this.
Are you back on social media?
Like occasionally.
I saw a few of your stories. I love you being on social media, by the way.
Oh, that's great feedback.
I just think that you need to post more.
But what do I post? What do people even give a shit about?
Well,
What do I give a shit about posting?
what do you give a shit about posting? What are your 3 pillars?
My absolutely banging ass closet.
Yes.
My outfits have been going hard.
Yeah, your outfits need to be on the soch.
My endeavors in nature.
Speaking of endeavors in nature,
Skiing.
we were both just skiing.
Yeah, we were skiing like 15 minutes apart from each other and we didn't even see each other.
Yeah, because you told me, why don't you come ski Beaver Creek? And then I said, okay, we'll come ski Beaver Creek. And she's like, actually, I'm leaving in 2 hours. So never
Actually,
mind,
just
don't
skiing a
come.
half day for my ski and scout condo. Yeah, well, it did end up being a half day.
Who did you go with?
My aunt and uncle, they rent a house there every year.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are they from? What
But
are
then they
about?
left because they're 70 years old. So I skied by myself, which is really lovely.
Scary too.
Yeah, did you hear about the guy in Vale who's buried probably?
Yeah. Did we find out what happened to him?
No.
He's our age.
He's 25.
Yeah.
He's your age.
I'm 27.
Oh, she's caught up to me temporarily.
You know what I was watching last night? A little bit. Love is Blind.
Yeah.
The new season.
Yeah.
Tell me why everyone is 27, but they seem so much older than me. Do you feel like you're the same age as these people?
I don't know. I dissociate when it comes to age because I can't really tell how old people are. The same way that
Schizophrenic.
when I look at it, yeah, same way that when I look at a room and I'm like, there could be 60 people in here, there could be 120 people. No way to gauge.
Oh, you don't have that like number.
Nope.
So those games where you have to guess how many things is
how
in
many
the jar.
gumballs are in a jar?
There's like
I'm
75. You're like
12. Yeah, no, dude. That's the same way with age for me. Like my aunt and uncle told me they were 67 this weekend, and I'm like, no fucking way. You're like 52. Like, I was appalled.
So
Yeah.
how do you feel about your own age? Do you associate with that?
I have no idea how old I am.
Yeah.
I guess what they say is that I'm 27.
What they tell me.
What they tell me.
You're turning 28 though. How's that feel?
Same as it did when I turned 27, I guess. I don't really... Like, I guess the only reason why it feels funny is because when you get to like 27, 28, you're like, oh, other people view me as like a fully functioning, competent, independent adult.
Yes.
But like, I'm just a baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just a girl.
That's how I feel. I feel like I don't feel like an adult sometimes.
Do you know what we need to unpack?
Sure.
Is your deep desire to be famous.
Okay. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. Should we do beverage of the week first?
You know what's funny is that every episode I'm like rearing to get into the episode and Amanda's like, beverage of the week. Should we do it? Should we do it now or should we do it later?
Cue the little chime. Okay, so when I was thinking of this episode, fame, money, Hollywood, I wasn't really, my creative juices weren't really flowing. I was really having a hard time. And then I thought, oh my gosh, it would be really timely to have a Poppy, because Poppy is going through some like scrutiny right now where they sent influencers this vending machine before the Super Bowl filled with poppies.
Sick.
Yeah.
How do you send a vending machine to someone's house?
No idea.
Okay.
But they were getting a lot of backlash for it because people were like, this is so out of touch. Why are you sending?
Everything in Hollywood's out of touch.
Right. And so this girl that I follow, who's an incredible marketing genius, Coco Moco, she was talking about how she does not agree with that scrutiny at all, because she's like, okay, so Poppy is sending vending machines to influencers, but Ben Affleck is getting paid $10 million to do a Dunkin' Donuts commercial for Super Bowl. Why are we not mad about that? So I just thought it was interesting around money and like fame and how people in companies utilize famous people to promote
Sure.
and also pay. And it's like, where's the value? The value gets so lost. But the unsafe way didn't have any poppies.
Oh yeah, the unsafe way next to my house.
So
They
I
don't
had
have
to
much
pivot.
in there besides 6 security guards at the door.
You know what? I will go into the unsafe way any day because I do love a security guard at a grocery store.
I don't know that they're quite qualified to truly
trust.
defend our honor, but
I trust. Hey, they're giving up their time to be there.
You're
I
right.
trust.
for $16 an hour, you too could be an unsafe way security guard. Yo, what'd you bring?
Okay, so I had to pivot, and this was my second option. Get ready for this shit, okay? I don't actually know the last time I've had something like this.
I looked in Amanda's purse accidentally, purposely, and I saw these before, but I didn't see the flavor, and it better be blue raspberry.
A Kool-Aid jammer.
Why?
Because everyone
gonna
in
get
Hollywood
sugar high.
is drinking the Kool-Aid.
Nice. Nice. That was a good one. Yeah, dude. They're all drinking the Kool-Aid.
So that was something that I heard about growing up, like that phrase. My dad would always say it to my mom, because my mom is one of those people that will read a study that says, like, if you drink pineapple juice before bed, like, you'll sleep better.
You
and
will
she'll
have
do
an
it.
amazing smelling vagina.
Yeah, and she'll do it.
She's like, no, it's for good sleep.
Yeah. And so I always loved this phrase. Do you know the actual origin of drinking the Kool-Aid?
Enlighten me.
You know Jonestown?
Yeah, that weird cult. Oh, yeah. He killed everyone with the Kool-Aid.
So the idiom drinking the Kool-Aid is like all of these people who followed this cult leader, and basically they did a mass suicide drinking Kool-Aid with like cyanide in it or something.
Yeah.
And all kaput, done. And so
Kaputsis.
Finn. And so that phrase, the idiom, comes from Jonestown. But now what I'm referring to it as is everyone in Hollywood who wants to be famous, who is selling their soul or not, has to drink the Kool-Aid at one point in time.
Sure.
And so here we are, drinking
Sipping
the
on
Kool-Aid.
some tropical punch.
Is it
It's
good?
actually nasty.
I haven't had a Kool-Aid since probably elementary school.
It's so sugary. Well, yeah, it's interesting to think about. It's bad. Dude, it's bad. First of all, I don't really drink anything like punch flavored.
Like the second wave of flavor,
Where'd you get these?
the unsafe way.
Okay, so they're
And I had to buy a box.
expired. You bought a box? Your kids are going to
to.
pop off.
No, they're not getting this shit. It's artificially flavored. Lennox will actually develop. I'm not gonna.
He's going to become clairvoyant is what you mean. So the idea of selling your soul drinking the Kool-Aid is an interesting conspiracy, whether it's just metaphorical or whether it's real. And so many celebrities touch on how they had to chit chat with the devil, how they had to sell their soul, how they had to do really dark things to get where they want to be. I mean, the lore runs deep when it comes to Scientology, selling your soul, drinking the blood of children, like getting like just I mean crazy things. And it's fine. It's feeling like more and more it's believable because of all the things that are coming out in terms of all these
Diddy.
Diddy.
Enough said.
Yeah, but like pedophilic sex trafficking,
Yeah.
weird underground communities and weird things that people have to do in order to be quote unquote rewarded with money and status and validation. What do you think?
Lack of Jesus.
Well, you know, y'all need Jesus. You know, what's interesting is that Hollywood fame has become this new like religion.
Facts. And you know what's so interesting is, do you remember Allison Stoner?
No.
She was in every single child movie you would ever have seen.
Not
Cheaper by the Dozen. She was the little girl who went on a
Oh.
date with Taylor Lautner.
I don't.
She's a dancer. She was in Camp Rock.
You're not getting me to where you want me to be. So just continue.
No, you got, because she's so memorable. She's so rememberable.
She's so rememberable.
You have to, this girl,
No,
Allison Stoner.
I don't know her.
You don't recognize her at all?
No. Oh yeah, I do.
Yes. She's changed a lot, but she had a podcast many moons ago, I think it was in 2021, all about the dark side of Hollywood under the umbrella of child stardom.
Yeah.
And because she was the child star, so she talks about like the dark side of it. And she talks about, what were you just saying? What was my thought about this?
Modern religion.
Yes. She talks about there's this statistic where majority of Americans who are 10 and 12 years old, their biggest desire
Is to be famous.
is to be famous.
Yeah.
Not like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be, it's fame.
Yeah. Because we construct this identity of being a famous person as the American dream. As you get everything and you live in this like luxurious lifestyle where you get everything you want. And then on top of it, everyone idolizes you.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the birth of Hollywood is interesting to think about. The reason why we've constructed celebrities to be who they are. And we used to worship religious leaders, you know, kings, just people in positions of power before Hollywood existed. And now we worship people in Hollywood as if they're our leaders.
Do you think that was curated? That was a curated goal and plan? I not to get right into the conspiracies, but when you were talking, it makes me think, okay, if we now idolize celebrities and celebrity culture and fame, maybe it's because we're also taught to by how in your face it is.
Sure.
And is that constructed? Is the government working with Hollywood to distract us from overthrowing the government?
Well, the way that I see it, the 1% is our government. The 1% are the people who control all the money in our society and our economy, which therefore kind of makes you the government. The people who are in the cabinets and the presidents and the courts are just most of the time, the way that I see it, and I don't know, but like more so figureheads.
Yeah.
The people who really control the money are the people who have it all and the people who can influence other people. And people in Hollywood, if there's one thing that they're good at, it's influencing the public. It's being so prominent in the general, like the eye of the general public, that they can make waves. And
I want to stay here where we're unpacking what is fame, Hollywood, how did it even come to be? I also want to not forget to talk about how, when you were talking, it just reminded me of how celebrities have a lot of influence. Mm-hmm. I think now tables are turning a little bit. I mean, you see with the election, every single celebrity endorsed Kamala, and it didn't work.
yeah.
And so that was a huge headline, was like, are celebrities losing their power? Are they losing their pull?
I think people are starting to see through this veil that we've put up. When
Yeah.
you think about old Hollywood, the 1920s to the 1950s.
Why does it feel so glamorous? I want to be there.
It was glam because it was filled with people with true raw talent.
True.
Right? Like it was this industry that was truly built on entertainment from pure expression and talent and drive and like an art. Yeah, truly art and entertainment was such a beautiful industry. And not that it's still not. There's amazing things that come out of this Hollywood fame, money industry, but it's turned now into less of talent and more of marketability.
Oh, we didn't sing. So that's our song.
Fame. So I think that people are starting to see behind this facade that we've put up of everyone in Hollywood deserves the fame that they're given and deserves the money and the attention. We're starting to see like these people don't really have a lot to offer other than this like internet personality.
Right. And going back to the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, even all the way up until honestly, maybe 10 years ago, I feel like there was a lot of gatekeeping. There were these big conglomerates who were curating these young stars to be something, again, marketability. And again, industry plants as well. Like, I think there was a lot of that. And I think now with the whole Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively thing, all of the PR and marketing text messages that are coming out of that, crisis management that's coming out of that, like the awareness around those pockets of Hollywood as well is maybe what's allowing the veil to come down a little bit.
I think they're just losing their protection of all of these scandals because there's so much access to these people and there's so much access to different perspectives and different stories through social media and the media in general. I think that they're losing, like we said, this air of perfection.
Yes. Well, and so I think what's so interesting is I think now we're all becoming more aware and cognizant of the underbelly of what makes celebrities, the stylists, the manager, the agent, the crisis management, like all of it is so curated. And again, that's such an interesting concept as well too, is this whole idea of fame and celebrity is idolizing somebody that we think is perfection. However, there's this cycle of create them to destroy them. There's this cycle of, I think that this person is perfect. I'm going to uplift them. I'm going to idolize them.
We love to tear someone down. We love to watch people's downfall.
And the second that they show us that they're human and they're not actually a god, we prey on their downfall.
Yeah.
We destroy them.
It's interesting to know all of the things that we just talked about, to have this different perspective of the underbelly, of the dark side, of all of the things that make someone famous, of all of these scandals and secrets, still idolize people in these positions. It's this parasocial relationship that we were talking about before we got on the mic. Yes, we talk outside of the mic.
We try not to, honestly, because there's a lot to say.
Yeah, I block Amanda's number until the morning that we need to record. But basically just like this idolatry of...
Let's break down what parasocial is.
It's the idea of thinking that you know someone...
Who has no idea that you exist.
Who has no idea that you exist based on their open exposure. So social media is a great way, or movies, or podcasts, or like... someone sharing themselves with the world.
An influencer is a perfect example.
Yeah. And you thinking that you are close to them, or you thinking that you know them, or, you know, a lot of that comes from relatability, but they have no idea who you are, who they don't know.
Do you feel like you've ever had a parasocial relationship with anybody?
It's a good question. Not that I like feel like I know who someone is.
Harry Styles for me. One Direction. I totally had a parasocial relationship.
Maybe Justin Bieber, I guess.
Yeah. Where like they do something in the media and you're like actually heartbroken. Or like
really impacted by it.
I would read fan fictions on Wattpad about One Direction.
What?
Wattpad. I'd read or when celebrities get girlfriends and you're like,
oh yeah, and you're actually jealous.
Hurt. Yeah,
actually heard about it. Yeah, it's quite an interesting psychological phenomenon because they share enough to get you to feel like you really do know them. But the hierarchy that we've given them comes from like the more it's so interesting because the more money you have, the more able you are to share yourself.
Well, so okay. Why do people actually want money and fame?
Because they think it's going to bring them happiness and joy. That's the bottom line. That is literally broken down as far as you can break down. The reason people want X, Y, and Z, including fame, is because they think that the fame, the money, the validation, the nice house, the nice car, the stuff, the status is going to make them happy and at peace.
I think even a layer up as well. I agree. But I think even a layer up is the fact that being famous and having money does give you access.
Sure.
Does give you more resources, does give you more opportunities. I think the happiness and the joy actually is not what it gives you. But it does open up opportunities for more security, more visibility.
Sure.
More resources, more pull as a human.
Right.
To be able to get the things that you want.
Which therefore you think is going to make you happy.
Yes. So it's this catch-22 because we think that it's going to make us happy. However, it's just an illusion. It's this illusion, right? Yeah. But it's a catch-22 because like it's actually real. Like these things do provide you with things that the layperson does not get.
But at what cost is always the question, because we've talked about this before in our money episode, is the cost of wealth or the definition of wealth and how we think about success and wealth in our society. And so a lot of people have this one track mind that's been handed to us and fed to us as this narrative that money is happiness. Money gives you happiness. And
money talks.
Money talks. And it does talk because, like you said, it provides you opportunities to get to what you want, how you want to live, where you want to be, the trips you want to take, the family you want to raise. Like it does give you access. And in turn, that does provide you with a certain amount of happiness. But at what cost? What consequences are you facing to have to sell your soul to get there, to have to give up your sense of identity to get there, to have to give up your time, your freedom in so many other ways to just get the paycheck?
See, I'm having a realization.
Live realizations on the pod.
My naive ass feels like there wouldn't be a cost. Like if I were to get famous, that I could do it in an authentic way.
I think that's the illusion.
But here's the thing. Maybe that's why cancel culture is a thing. Because it's dismantling this idea that celebrities and fame equals perfection. We are giving way more people a platform nowadays to have the 15 minutes of fame, like to be quote unquote famous to an extent. But these people aren't media trained. These people didn't work their asses off in auditions. These people weren't taught how to be a celebrity. A lot of people, it happens overnight. And so you're catching them as an imperfect human. And because we're so used to equating fame with perfection, when we platform people with imperfections, naturally they're going to act imperfect, and we're so conditioned to scrutinize that.
That's what's changing in the game of fame, is that we scrutinize that still, but I think we're actually more open to accepting that these are real and normal humans. That's why a lot of influencers are gaining traction, is because they're providing authenticity. They're providing.
But is it actually authenticity, or is it still curated?
It's likely still curated. I mean, you're curating anything that you put on the internet, regardless of how authentic you think you're being. But the different levels of fame too, like an influencer with 200,000 followers has much more of an opportunity to be quote unquote authentic than Leonardo DiCaprio does, or than someone who's truly an A-list celebrity who has played so many roles their whole entire life that then their identity in the public eye becomes a character that they play. It becomes a role. It becomes something that they have to uphold. And how dissociative. Like, talk about schizophrenia. Holy shit. I mean,
I think I would become schizophrenic if I was an actor. I'd probably be method.
I would cancel myself.
I would be Austin Butler, still talking like Elvis. I would be so method. I just don't know how I would be able to get out of that. But here is the thing that I feel like is so interesting is these levels of fame, right? Where when you break it down, you realize what we actually feel is a narrative that we're creating. And so you talk about influencers, right? An influencer with 15,000 followers, you still feel like you could DM them and they'll respond.
Yeah, maybe.
An influencer with 250,000 followers, you know there's a good chance that they're not going to respond to you. An influencer at Alex Earl's status, right? The more that you get this following, right, the less accessible you become.
Yeah.
And the less relatable you become.
Yep.
So the threshold of influencer to celebrity, or even just like public figure to celebrity, is really interesting to me. And I think what categorizes you either influencer, public figure, or celebrity is how accessible are you?
That's a good point.
Is accessibility the marker for status, for wealth, for success?
What a crazy concept too, to think about the difference of being born inaccessible, like what's her last name? Is she really called Northwest?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Kind of iconic.
Northwest, Northwest,
North South.
North South, never eat sour worms. The idea of being born into inaccessibility and having this standard set from a very young age and being thrust into a lifestyle that wasn't a choice versus becoming someone who starts as just a normal person and becomes inaccessible and becomes someone who is untouchable and famous and a millionaire. And the slippery slope of doing that purposefully versus accidentally. I think some people talk about Chappell Roan's a good example where she like had this moment where she complained about being famous and she never wanted all this attention. And it's like, people were giving her backlash. It's like, why are you going and doing all these things? And why are you publishing your music? And why are you doing all these things if you didn't want to be famous? And it's like, I think people don't have a true conceptualized understanding of like what that feels like to really make it and to get there. And so you think that you want to share your music and you think that you want to be heard and you want to be seen. And then all of a sudden you go way further than you ever think you thought you were going to go. And then you're like, whoa, this is too much for me.
That's a great point, actually, because I was one of those people that when Chappell Roan was being like, I don't want to be famous, it's really actually difficult, I was like, shut up. I don't want to hear it. But you're right. You're right. It's not conceptualized to people who genuinely are artists and focus on the art and want the art to be the avenue versus like themselves. Where for me, it feels like shut up because I've desired fame, not because of the art, but because of the fame. And so
You desire fame simply to be validated?
No, we'll unpack it in a minute.
Okay.
But I think because I've turned a new leaf with that desire.
Good, I can't wait to hear.
So I think she's an excellent example because I was listening to this clip of the Joe Rogan podcast where he was talking to somebody and he was talking about stop desiring fame. These people who are just desiring fame don't know what they're desiring. And the thing is that fame will happen if you have talent. If you are just an artist and your art speaks. Fame can be an after effect or an outcome of your skills and your natural ability and your hard work. But there's a difference when the fame is what you desire. There's a desire for fame rather than allowing it to be the natural outcome of your talent.
Well, there are a few artists that I think have to work triple as hard because they're trying to maintain that true authentic expression of their art. That's really what they're meant to do. First person that comes to mind is my favorite person ever, which is Rye X.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Rye X is, he's an incredible artist. He's from Australia, but he really Australia and he really maintains this beautiful sense of self and this sense of my job is truly to create authentically, to share my story through my art and not get carried away and not get taken in getting swept up in all this money and power and fame. And he's truly a healer. When you have people who are writing and creating and entertaining for the sole purpose of giving and sharing themselves, that is when the slippery slope of people are latching onto the authenticity of this story and this human experience.
But which is so interesting because that's so much more of a slow burn than somebody like Addison Rae.
God, you love Addison
She's
Rae.
my favorite. We've talked about this before. Jessa likes Alex Earl.
I
and
do.
Addison Rae is my Alex Earl. Like, I just am obsessed. Her new song, High Fashion. Oh my God, I cannot wait to be in France. By the way, I'm going to France with Jessa. We're going to France this summer. I cannot wait to be in France and listening to High Fashion. Anyway, side note.
Euro girl summer.
So she is somebody that truly was curated. She's very talented as a dancer. She started on TikTok as a dancer. She was just doing dance stuff. However,
here's the thing. Talent is so subjective.
it is. It's very subjective. However, I think that her trajectory to fame from influencer to celebrity is so fascinating to me. And that's why I think I like her. Is because she was an influencer doing these dance TikToks, doing the fucking like you know what I mean? Like doing the little shit. That just cringed you out. Huh? Doing all these little like renegade shit on TikTok. And so accessible, so relatable. And then she started doing a few things like a podcast. And then I think she did like an acting thing. And then she like went ghost. She went ghost for like 2 years, came back as a pop star. Not a pop star, but like she came back as a musician.
Sure, but at what point can you just pay your way into whatever
this
you
is
want
what
to
I'm
be?
talking about. She got swept up by a great management company. She's got a great team around her. But they curated her. They crafted her to be this image of what everyone in society wants, which is this hyper pop Charlie XCX, even like Sabrina Carpenter and Chappell Roan, but I'm forgetting somebody. There's somebody else that I was thinking of, but
You're talking to the wrong person.
I know. But this hyper pop is really what Gen Z is into right now. And so I think they did a phenomenal job at curating her into what the population wants, right?
Sure. It's marketable.
Versus Rye X being so authentically themselves is not going to cater to the masses because he's not for the masses. He's for the people who actually are like, your music speaks to me.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting.
It speaks to me. You speak directly to me. I love you.
We actually went to his concert.
Yeah, I met him. It
was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you did.
I went and partied with him after one of his concerts. Mm-hmm. He held my hand.
He held your hand?
Yeah.
You never
Kissed
told
me on the
me.
cheek.
Oh, yeah, he did.
And I said, I love you.
You said, you missed.
Yeah, I said, right here, puppy. I love your music. You're so authentic.
But yeah, it really does speak to a larger conversation. Is authenticity rewarded as much as curation?
Probably.
And should it be? Or should it not be?
How metaphorical that all of Hollywood is burning to the ground. Literally.
Literally.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the last couple of years that things have started to air, like we've been saying about all of this really dark, scary, bad. Scary bad.
Rawr.
Dude, words are so hard for me today. All the things that have come out in the last couple of years about all of these scandals in terms of all these parties and all this childhood grooming and all these terrible things that are happening in this industry, I think have really changed the game. We talk about the age of Aquarius where things need to be dismantled and burnt to the ground, literally, metaphorically, physically, all the things, so that we can rebuild. And the fact that some of the most wealthy, famous, known celebrities and people had their geographical landscape burned to the ground is really telling that I think we're in this resurgence of who deserves fame, who deserves our attention, who deserves our energy.
I also think it speaks to this idea that celebrity culture of idolization and inaccessibility and untouchable is dying. Like they are touchable. Their house is burned. Like we had this idea that nothing bad can happen to these people because they're untouchable.
Sure, they can just pay their way out of it.
Right. And that's
which is still the case half the time. But
yeah, but not with Mother Nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I was famous, I would want to be famous for...
Yeah. Do you want to be famous?
No.
Did you have that desire as a child?
Yeah.
Lie.
I always thought that I would be on SNL, actually.
I know.
I always thought that I would be...
I could still see that for you.
I would be great.
You'd be great on SNL.
I always thought that I'd be on SNL. If I can't be on SNL, I'd love to go to SNL.
I know. We kind of have maybe a little connection there. So hopefully we can make that happen.
But I think the older I get, the more I realize that if I want fame, it's for, like you said, the access to the resources. It's not for the validation and the ego boost of being recognized and noticed. I do feel that I have, like, as humbly as possible, like, I have a personality that people are interested in watching, interested in consuming.
I am a star.
I am actually born to be a star. But I would want to be famous for, like, a book where I could still go to a Trader Joe's.
Bitch.
I want to write a book.
You picked the wrong medium.
No, I want to be famous for a podcast.
No, that's actually very interesting too, because there's this girl who I discovered who's an artist as well. And she does music. And
well, what's her name?
I forget her name. It was like something that I saw in passing, but she had like 700,000 followers on Instagram. Her music is pretty well known, I think. And if she was walking in the streets, I would never know. You would never recognize her. There are certain people who have that luxury of they're not a chaperone where they're in drag, or they have fire red hair, or they're not a Sabrina Carpenter. Like, there are certain people who have the luxury of blending in, and that would actually be nice.
Yeah, I would like to be like a mid-level. I don't need to be an A-list celebrity.
I would like to be able to, like, flick the light on and off. Like, I could go in the streets and be undiscoverable, but, like, if I want to be noticed, I can.
Yeah, so do you want to unpack your desire here?
Yeah, I think that I've always joked about wanting to be famous. And while, yes, that's a joke, it's also part truth. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. Totally. I've always wanted to, like, have recognition.
A platform to share your voice.
You know what's interesting is I think that what I've been unpacking is, like, the actual deep desire for me is to have impact.
Yes.
However, I grew up with a dad who was arguably famous. And
it's not arguable.
Well, I mean, I grew up, like, going to airports and going places and having people come up to him and be like, "Oh my God, are you so-and-so?" Like,
yeah, famous.
Yeah.
Not arguable.
And so for me, it was so cool to see that and be like, wow, people love you. That's a really cool feeling. And my dad was always so kind to people who came up to him, and always, like, it really made him feel good to be noticed and recognized. And I watched that whole thing happening. So I think for me, there's this, like, parental model, the same way that that kids idolize their parents all day, every day. But at the same time, people were also idolizing my dad. So I have this weird ingrained belief that, like, being famous is really validating and really cool, because I saw it firsthand, and it wasn't in a negative way. Like, my dad handled it so well. He's still so down to earth. He's still very grounded. Like, I didn't see
the amount of Google searches that are going to skyrocket of Chris DeMarco after this.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, he's a golfer, so people who aren't into golf don't know him.
Yeah.
But, which is also kind of nice. Like, there's a pocket of people who know you,
yep,
and a pocket who don't.
You can still live normally.
You can still live your normal life.
Extent.
And so there's this part of me that, like, saw that happen to my dad and wants that, but then also this deeper part of me that realizes it's really not just walking out in the streets and wanting to be validated, because I don't want that. I really appreciate when people slide into my DMs and say, that podcast changed my life, or your post inspired me to write more, or, you know,
baby girl's got an unblocked throat chakra. She wants to speak her truth, and she wants to be heard.
True. Like, I just want to be able to, I don't know. I definitely feel like that I was put on this earth to, like, be somebody that can help other people almost
ascend.
Yeah, or just be kind of the one that's doing it first so that people have that permission slip to do it themselves.
I think that the key, because we hear this story often, is people want a platform because they want a voice, because they want to help and heal
Yeah.
and ascend people. It is the test of being able to maintain those morals, ethics, and values when you start getting the validation, the access, the money. This lifestyle gets handed to you once you start to get discovered. And a lot of people lose their authenticity, or they get pulled into projects that they didn't really think that they wanted to be a part of, but it pays well. And they have this connection, and they have these agents telling them to do this, and they have other people controlling their life for them. So the test comes not with the inspiration to want to be famous.
Yeah.
It's the integrity of maintaining that while you have the platform. Because it's easy to want to get that platform and say that you're going to use it for good. It's about being able to make that sustainable.
I think I'm too polarizing to abandon my integrity. I think I'm too stubborn to like, and too polarizing to be
Have you ever heard of the Stanford Prison Experiment?
Maybe.
It's something you learn about like really early in college, but
where it's like an open prison where everybody can see each other.
No.
Okay.
Stanford Prison Experiment happened way back in like the 70s or 60s or something, when there was like really unethical sociological testing. And what they did with a group of students at Stanford is they split like 20 kids, 10 became prisoners, 10 became guards. And they set up this simulation, and they were randomly chosen. And they kept them in this like simulated prison, I think for maybe 2 days or something.
Were these people who actually did something bad, or just like
No,
people who signed
just
up to see an
students.
experiment?
Just students that signed up for an experiment in one of their classes. They equally split them, 10 here, 10 there, random distribution of guard and prisoner. And over the course of 2 days, it's essentially it's basically this power trip of how authority, superiority, hierarchical standing will completely deteriorate your morals and your ethics. And so the first day, they were asking these guards to do heinous things to these other students. They were asking them to like make them pee in a bucket, or like get down on the floor and do push-ups, you know, like do things that were like
heinous push-ups.
Heinous, disgusting, but like basically making them like boss around the prisoners.
Yeah.
And they were all like, we're not doing that. Like, this is just an experiment. We're not gonna be violent. We're not gonna put them down. And over the course of 2-3 days, however long they were in there, they became obsessed with this character that they were playing, with this power that they had. And they ended up completely abusing these completely equal classmates that were just playing the role of the prisoner. And so it's interesting that psychologically, you almost can't control the addiction to the power, to the authority, because whether you want to or not, or whether you truly believe or not, when you're put in these positions where other people are idolizing you, where other people are watching you, listening to you, you become a public figure. You, in a way, become superior, quote unquote, where your voice means more than someone else's. Your message has more potency. And with that, I think that's the dissipation of your integrity and your like ability to say, no, I'm an equal, because you get carried away whether you want to or not. You get carried away with being on your high horse, with being righteous, with being like, my message is more important than others.
Well, fame in the brain turns on the same areas that of addiction.
Yes.
As drugs do.
Yes.
Like, it is doing that to your brain.
That's why anything that gives you that ego boost, that validation, is addictive.
I think it's interesting because I do think that there's this wave, whether it be the age of Aquarius, where people are being more cognizant of who they're platforming and understanding that people's voices, when they do have a platform and they do have a following, matters more, but that is actually not the truth. that everyone's voice matters, and
Yeah.
who are we platforming, and can we goddamn platform people who actually are inclusive, who are just like almost been the underdogs for so long.
No, don't worry. We've completely deleted the diversity, equity, inclusion cabinet of the White House. So
Yeah, don't worry.
don't worry. It's good. We're going in the right direction. That's good. It's good. It's good.
Okay, there are 3 things. Okay, I was doing this research with Allison Stoner, Camp Rock Girlie. She was saying that people who want to be famous, right? There are 3 reasons: pro-social, status, and visibility.
Well, I thought you were going to ask me, and then you just
No,
gave
I'm
them.
I'm giving you the.
Oh, you want me to respond to it?
No. I'm not done. So there are 3 things of why people want to be famous, basically.
Pro-social, visibility, status.
Okay. People who want to belong, like their deepest desire is to belong, want all 3. They want visibility, status, and pro-social.
Can you define pro-social for the crowd?
Pro-social, I think, is more just like about the social connections. The social connections, like the
network.
the access to the network, the access to people.
Okay.
People who had narcissistic tendencies wanted visibility and status. And people who purely wanted to just relate to people, pro-social.
My turn?
Yeah, what do you think you want?
What do I think I want?
Status, visibility, pro-social.
Pro-social.
Yeah.
I love a good network. What's my human design again? I'm a networker.
4. Yeah.
You know, I was going to ask you before I answer that personally. What do you think makes a narcissist?
Not being able to, I've done a lot of research on this. Not being able to empathize or take accountability or like look at themselves in the mirror.
Do you think at a certain point many celebrities become narcissists because they don't have to empathize?
No. Yes, but I don't think it's like an overarching. I think that anyone who gets fame and actually desires to be like a public figure, you could argue has narcissistic tendencies. Like I think there's an argument there. But I think there's a difference between being
no
a
fault of their
true I think it's both. I think it's both the people who make them a celebrity and them, you know? And I think that there's a big difference between a narcissist, a true narcissist, and people who have narcissistic tendencies. And I think that you can exhibit the tendencies without actually being a narcissist.
Yeah.
Because I think that's when it's like almost this nurture. It's not nature, it's nurture. What do you think about Nepo babies?
I'm podcasting with one.
No, Nepo babies are people who like...
I know where they are, but okay, tell the people.
Okay, Nepo babies are people who are daughters or sons of children. I don't know why I said daughters or sons. Children.
Yeah, not inclusive, Amanda. Give people a platform who are inclusive.
Sorry. Nepo babies are children of people who are either well-established or prominent or successful or famous in a specific industry, and they are getting into that same industry.
Correct.
So like if I was a golfer, I'd be a Nepo baby.
Correct.
Yeah.
What do I think of them?
Yeah.
Lucky you, bitch. Not really, but like, you know, I think that there's a strategy to being a Nepo baby. Like it's flaunt it if you got it. I love when people are shamelessly open about the reason I am the way that I am is because I was born into a family. What's that famous picture of Hailey Bieber wearing a nepotism baby shirt or something? She wore like Nepo baby on her shirt, and I was like, honestly, hell yeah.
Obsessed.
Because if you flaunt the fact that it's really not a meritocracy anymore, which is the concept of pull yourself up by the bootstraps. If you want to make it, you can just work hard. The same opportunities are accessible to everyone. Everyone has the resources to, you know, live the American dream. Maybe that's how it used to be, but it's not that way anymore. So if you're open to contributing to the narrative that that's a false thing, fine. Embrace your nepotism. But if you're going to come out here and you're going to say, I worked for this, I earned this. Stop that.
Well,
Stop that right now.
And I will throw something out there, and maybe this is a little controversial, but I think Nepo babies, not that they work harder, but I think that they have more to prove.
I don't know.
I don't think they work harder, but I think they have more to prove. Because I think they are constantly living in the shadow of their parent.
Sure.
And if they actually have talent or they actually want to make something on their own, they have a lot of hoops that they need to jump through in terms of the pressure and the public eye watching them do it.
The perspective.
You know what I mean?
I see the perspective, but
I think there are a lot of Nepo babies who like get places without actually being talented. And that's what I don't agree with.
That to me is the majority of Hollywood right now, and celebrities and influencer culture is it's all about who you know, not what you know.
Yeah.
It's all about the circles that you run in, the access you have, the resources that you have, not necessarily about your talent. I mean, like the golden age of Hollywood is over. There are people who have true talent. There are amazing productions that are put on and music that's made and stories that are written. Like that's a real beautiful thing that we as a society have come up with, is this entertainment industry and these arts and this creative field where it's such an expression and it's such a way. I mean, think about way back in the Colosseum. That was entertainment, watching people fight each other, like the games that they made in ancient Greece, like all of these crazy things way back from the start of humanity where we have like leaned into like the Shakespearean age. What can we create to entertain people, to express, to play games, to play roles? Like it's quite an amazing field. But I just think that it's gotten very convoluted in terms of the reason why people want to be part of it, why we idolize people, how we organize them in society. And the distribution of wealth is really upsetting to me. It's really upsetting to me where we place it and how we pay people out and what we think is important. It's just another perspective of how flawed, just like I was talking about last week about the Super Bowl, like how flawed the allocation of wealth and resources are in our society. And we continue to feed that unknowingly by following, supporting, watching, idolizing. It's like this game of hedonism that people don't even realize that they're participating in, is like more, more. And we're quick to point a finger and say, tax the rich, eat the rich. But then we're still feeding them. We are still getting them paid. We are still giving them the voice and the platform and the money.
Yeah.
So
how do we get back to the golden age of entertainment? Because I also think talking about the Colosseum or talking about Shakespeare or talking about Banksy, art had so much more meaning. Entertainment had so much more poignant societal cultural critiques and messages woven into them than they do now. Entertainment has become so dumb. How do we get back to, that's why I loved Kendrick's halftime performance, because it was so politically charged but still super entertaining. How do we get back to having the arts speak, talent, and not gatekeeping who can be, talented and who can be an artist and who can get success, but really getting back to the art being what it's for, the impact, the intention, the entertainment doing its job of entertaining, making gestures at society without it just being this way to distract people from their lives.
Yeah, well, I think it's really difficult in an oversaturated industry to get people to care about things like that. So kind of comparatively, what came up for me is this idea of yoga teaching. How if you pay enough money, you can be a yoga teacher too. If you pay $3,000, here's your certificate, here's your job, here's this. And then you end up showing up in all these classes where you're really not resonating with your teacher, where they don't know how to teach safely. I mean, it's like, it's so oversaturated that it's really difficult to find people who really influence your practice. And that's kind of a similar mirror to Hollywood and to influencers and to these people with platforms, right? Is that it's so oversaturated, but the the way to get people back to arts as a message and healing and like the true raw real nature of entertainment is to change the morals and values of ourselves, right? Because we're going to give people the attention based on what we think is important, based on what we value. So if I love makeup and I love getting ready, I'm going to have a For You page that's curated with influencers getting ready. Get ready with me, do my makeup with me, watch my Halloween makeup. And while that, you know, can be really artistic and beautiful and cool, it's like it comes from where we give our views, where we give our likes. And what that comes from is what we believe we value. And so we need to allow
it's this
people
conversation of art imitating life, life imitating art.
Yes. We need to get people back to what really matters, which again, talent is subjective. What really matters is subjective. Everyone has their own interpretation of the world and where they want to place their value. But I think that we've lost a lot of the depth in what's really mind expanding, what's really making you think, what's really making you feel.
Yeah.
And we're used to consuming to dissociate. So a lot of TikTok, a lot of watching movies is like a way to unleash and unwind from your long, hard, stressful day. What we're not doing is searching for other ways to stimulate our mind, searching for other ways to feel, to think, to like consume that is expansive. And so when we can remind people your consumption impacts and influences who you are, but who you are also impacts your consumption, like it's this cyclical nature, maybe you'll start to think a little bit harder about what you're taking in.
And that you can't necessarily only be mad at Hollywood because they're just making what you want to watch.
Exactly. So
how do we break in?
You get people.
How do we break in and destroy, burn old Hollywood and create the golden age again?
No, we burn new Hollywood and we bring back old Hollywood.
And we bring back old Hollywood.
We resurrect Marilyn Monroe from the dead.
Oh, she's an icon.
Yeah,
I'm
an
obsessed
icon
with
and a
her.
legend.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I think that it starts on a micro level. It starts at your own community, having conversations.
I thought you were going to say it starts on a microphone.
It starts on this microphone right here. It starts on a micro level in your own community about having conversations about what wakes you up, what turns you on, what ascends you, what gives you like this creative life force energy, right? Because there's a lot of people walking around like just zombies. And I think that getting people to feel that beautiful surge of creativity is what will change where people place their time and energy and effort and attention. So I think
it also starts from a young age too. I mean, for all my moms listening to, I think that that's something that I think about all the time with my kids is screen time, is what I'm allowing them to watch. How often am I allowing them to watch it? When am I allowing them to watch it? Is it because they're crazy and won't stop bouncing off the walls and I need them to sit down for a second while I cook dinner? Like that's a really real reality for me and a lot of people out there, especially people who do not have a lot of help with their kids, is they got to get dinner on the table. Their kids are being crazy. Put a movie on. But I think it starts from a young age at teaching your children to appreciate art for the art and what it's saying and what feelings it's evoking versus using it as a way to just entertain your child so that they're not seen or heard.
Totally. Like we said in the beginning of this episode, a lot of these well-known people have a very subconscious effect on who you are and how you live. And the people that you consume and quote unquote spend your time around are the people that or the person that you become. And so be really selective when it comes to who you're emulating, what inspires you. Because it's a beautiful thing to have a platform. It's a beautiful thing to be able to consume and share and inspire and have your voice be heard. And it's a beautiful thing to learn and connect and blah, blah,
And
blah.
it doesn't always have to be deep. I do want to say that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be deep. It's entertainment.
Yeah. But I think just be mindful of the authenticity that you want to be and you want to promote and you want to live as, is that really coming from you, or is it coming from this like trying to be someone who's promoting themselves as such?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Agreed. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, leave us a review.
Yeah. We love you. Thank you guys for listening. Let us know if you like this episode or not. Let us know what you want to hear next, because we're always open to hearing. We're wanting you to tell us what we should create.
Uh-huh.
Because you actually influence the entertainment industry. Okay. Bye.
Don't let me scare ya.
Bye. Love you.